being sponsored by the League and by the American Association of University Women from Alexandria. Tonight we're happy to welcome our second forum of county commissioners for 3 of our districts. And we're going to begin tonight with opening statements from all the candidates, followed by questions in a rotating order. They'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement, 90 seconds to answer questions. There will be no rebuttals, or we'll be here all night if we do that. If you have a question you'd like to ask, we have card carriers here that will take your question, bring them up to our screeners here. Diane and Andy, who are league members. Kathy in front is our timer, and she'll give our candidates the nod when it's 30 seconds and time to stop. We're going to begin from left to right, and as I said, we're going to rotate questions at the end. We'll give every candidate 1 minute to sum up. So thank you, candidates, for coming. And we're going to begin on the left side with Judy Backus. If you'd start for 2 minutes, please.
Well, again, thank you to both associations for having us here tonight. My name is Judy Backus, and I've lived in the county for 37 years. I came here from Morehead State University, that's what it was called at the time, as an elementary teacher. I taught kindergarten for 11 years at Washington School, and I was an elementary principal in the district for 15 years, and then I was the human resource director for 9 years, and in that position I oversaw all personnel. I did negotiations with 8 different groups, oversaw transportation, oversaw early childhood special ed, and mental health and ED services. I've been married to my wonderful husband Lee for 35 years, and we have 2 children. Bria, our daughter, is 28, lives here in Alexandria. She's an early childhood special ed teacher. Married, they have a little girl named Gabby, she's 4. And then we have a son, Bo, who just graduated from Mankato State with a finance degree. He lives here in Alexandria and works for Sector 7. And I'm running for office. I've been looking at this for a year. Probably the main 4 things that have motivated me are I've lived a life of serving others. That's what you do in education, and I believe in that strongly. I'm also a person that believes that we really have to monitor our tax dollars, spend them wisely. I'm concerned about our lakes. Our lakes are a huge draw for us with tourism, and it affects our economy and our property values. And then I'm also concerned about our employees of the county, because there have been some significant morale issues, and so hopefully helping to make that better. So those are my 4 priorities, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Judy. Tim?
Okay, my name is Tim Kalina. I've lived in this county all my life. My wife was born and raised in this county, and I have 3 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, and 5 grandchildren, which all reside in Douglas County. I've been on the farm. I still farm now since 1979 when I purchased it. It's been in the family for generations. I've been working for Douglas County Highway Department, the Maintenance Division, for 21 years. I also served as supervisor for Lake Mary Township, where I was chairperson. And we built a new town hall where I was general contractor for that. And I worked for Ferguson Brothers Excavating, where I did directional boring, and I was a licensed on-site sewer installer for mound and trench systems. I got knowledge in mechanics. I've been doing mechanics for 40 plus years. I started out when I was 15 years old with my own shop on my dad's farm. And I still have a shop on the farm where I do my own repair work and everything. I have experience in the farming division with purchasing equipment. I know when there's a good buy. You don't always have to buy new equipment to get the best bang for your buck. A lot of used equipment out there which a county could purchase and stuff. What I'm looking for is accountability in the county. There's a lot of things that could be done differently at a lot less cost than what we're doing it now. We need to do more research There's been studies done for certain things that we have gotten in the county, which we never should have done in the first place. And I just want to try and give the taxpayers the best bang for their buck and keep everybody happy in this county. I'm willing to listen to people, and I'm hoping if people have a problem that they will contact me if I get elected so I can help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
Hi, I'm Charlie Meyer, born and raised here in Douglas County. My wife and I, Kathy, we were married for 40 years here in about 10 days. We've raised 3 children that all graduated from Jefferson High School. We're very fortunate. They're all living back in the Alexandria, Douglas County area. We've got 2 grandchildren in our school district. So we're very fortunate that way. We've been in business, family-owned business. I'm second generation. Our 2 sons are in the business with us now. My wife and I have been in a couple of other businesses in the area. I've been a member of the Alec Fire Department. I retired in 2000 already. And been a member of the Rotary Club for over 40 years. We do a lot of the things I enjoy doing, service work, and one of the things I like to do is, and I demand that we try to leave it better than we find it when I get involved in a lot of the things that we endeavor with the county work, and some of those things. I've been the county commissioner for 5.5 years, doing more collaborated things with, similar to Horizon Public Health and those types of things with JPAs and different things like that. They've proven to be great ways to save money, joining forces and spreading the expenses. Thank you. Asking for your support for another term.
Thank you. Mike?
Hi, my name is Mike Woods, and I was not born and raised here in Douglas County. I was born in St. Cloud, and I'd never tell you where I really was born and raised, because the answer is I was born in St. Cloud, moved to 13 different towns, 16 different houses, and then I started 8th grade. So we don't have time for that. But I did, my dad worked for the phone company, just so you know. I graduated from Apollo in 1972, and following that I joined the United States Navy. I joined to be a frogman. I lasted 1 day. So I have some experience at picking myself up from failure. I picked myself up, sat in San Diego, and so they decided to send me to aviation electrician school in Florida, and I became an aviation electrician and completed my 4 years and got an honorable discharge. At that time I came back to St. Cloud and started school at St. Cloud City University, and also was working at the VA hospital. My immediate supervisor, who's currently my wife, and I met at the VA hospital, and we've been married for over 40 years. We have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. One set lives in Bemidji and another set lives in Kansas City, so we don't have that luxury, and I'm kind of jealous of that luxury of the grandkids there. And the reason, I see the 30 seconds, the reason why I'm running is because I think it's important that people do become involved in the system. Sitting at McDonald's and complaining about Charlie and what the board does doesn't do any good. So basically what I'm saying is I'm putting money where my mouth is. So I appreciate your support and your vote. And I gotta stop. So thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Hi, my name is Heather Larson, and starting out, I was born in Alexandria here, and moved away when I was 7, moved back 13 years ago as a single parent, wanting to have a healthy and safe community to raise my daughter in. I was working at Arrowwood Resort at the time as a conference services manager, and I continued to do that for 6 years. After after that, I moved on to be a child support enforcement aide for Douglas County. And currently, for the last 4 years, I have been a at-home daycare provider. I'm licensed by the county, and I recently received a parent-aware status rating. I am married. I've been married to Grant. It'll be 10 years this November. I have 2 beautiful children, a daughter who's 18 and a son who is 8. And I got into this because I was contacted by some concerned Douglas County residents, feeling that their voices weren't being heard. Things that I hope to bring to this seat are a lot more transparency in regards to some of the things that have gone on in the past. I think we need to try a more proactive versus a reactive approach. People need to be aware of what the county board is voting on before they're reading about it, no offense, in the Echo Press, and not after the fact, when there can't be anything done about it after the fact. I appreciate the support that I've gotten from so many people. I'm very thankful for that, and with that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Owen?
I'm Owen Miller. I'm the current chair of the Douglas County Commissioners. And my wife Audrey and I have been married for 55 years. So if you start adding up the numbers, we have the longest period of time. We have 3 children, 5 grandchildren. When I look at my history, I look at leadership experience through service. And that's been the basic standard of my life. I've worked for 54 years in a service business. And also, when I look at service, I think about community. How have I been involved in the community? For example, Jingle Bells has been one of those things that from the time we moved into Alexandria, we've been involved with Jingle Bells. And let me tell you, when you take a delivery, and just a couple of years ago, we took a delivery out to a home. When we walked in, there was maybe 2 pieces of furniture in there, some little kids running around, and to walk in with food and clothing and toys, and to see the hug and the tears, the hug that my wife received and the tears that were rolling in excitement, to see that these little ones were going to have a Christmas. That's a part of what service is all about. In the military, I was a sergeant and honorable discharge, and I was the starting chair of Beyond the Yellow Ribbon here in Douglas County in Alexandria. Let me tell you what it's like that way when a soldier calls home from deployment and the wife says, yeah, everything's okay, and then the kids get on the phone. And Dad, the air conditioner went out. And the call comes to us. It's one of those beastly hot summer days. Well, I got a hold of someone, a Legion member near Litchfield, not right here in our town, but near in Litchfield. And he was able to go out and take care of the problem.
Thank you, Owen.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you. The first question comes from the Echo Press. And Judy, you're going to start with the question. We'll go right down the line. If you could make one major improvement in Douglas County, what would it be and why?
In the last 3 months, I've learned a great deal about our lakes area. And probably one of the biggest things I think we need to do is an overhaul comprehensive plan for our lakes. They are our economy here. Our tourism industry is because of our lakes area, and we have quite a few lakes that are already on the endangered list. So we need to start getting ahead of that. So I would say it would be doing a comprehensive plan, bringing a large group of people together that are very knowledgeable on the subject, and start putting that in place so that we are preventative instead of reactive. Being reactive to situations like that is extremely costly. Again, it affects our economy. It impacts just about everybody in our community, whether you live on the lakes or you don't. There's just so many pieces there that we have to start looking at. So I would think that that would be a comprehensive plan, a strategic plan that would outline a structure to follow, to get ahead of that, and then to also identify how to get funding to do what needs to be done.
Thank you. Same question, Tim?
Well, I agree with Judy on the lakes and stuff, that we do need to start a plan on that, but there's other issues that concern me more, and that's with the taxpayers. The county needs to buckle down and live within their needs, not their wants, because there's being a lot of money spent on things that the county don't actually need to do. For instance, there's, with the time system and that, it used to be an honor system on the time, and now it's gotten to the point where we're spending more time doing our time than we're working, because it's so involved, and there's not really accomplished anything with that, and there's been hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on things that we should have never even attempted to do. It goes from equipment purchases, vehicle purchases, all of this stuff costs taxpayers money. And it could be done in a lot simpler, most cost-effective way without the taxpayer having the burden of paying for all these things that we do not need. I want to get things for the county that we need, not what we want. So the taxpayer isn't burdened with extra taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie?
Ask that again, would you? You lost it.
It was emailed to me by Al, so.
You guys are too far apart.
If you could make one major improvement in Douglas County, what would it be and why?
For obvious reasons, communication skills need to be improved on everywhere. And it's not just in Douglas County, I guess, but to me, accountability is one of the most important things in life when it comes to anything. And if you want to talk about budgeting, communication, or anything else, and especially with respect to the taxpayers and the money it costs, that communication skill along with accountability. How to do it? It would be fun to try to improve on that. It would take a lot of people at the table to get it done. And that's some of the things we're trying to do. It goes right down to the townships to making sure they can communicate. We meet with them once a year. That's probably not enough with the 20 townships in the different cities. That to me would be one of the best things to do.
Thank you. Mike?
Well, thanks for that question. I don't answer those questions well, because what I would do, I would drill down to Al. That's a very open-ended question. What are you looking for, Al? Because if you were to say to me on the street, what's the one thing you're doing to make Douglas County better? I'd say, hey, how about an outdoor swimming pool? But that's probably not something the county board is going to get involved with. I'm assuming the county, that question was directed as a county board member, what one thing would you change? And I think that the one thing I would change, and it's been said 3 times, is that somehow get that line of communication between the people we serve, including the employees and the taxpayers. Open up that line of communication, more than just publishing the agenda in the newspaper, or putting the agenda on the website. We have to figure out a way to talk about those things in an open process. I think we sometimes get lost. So my answer is long-winded, but it means I think we need to figure out how to listen to each other and learn from each other so we can lead ourselves into the future, which is my slogan in my head.
Thank you. Heather?
One major improvement that I feel that we need to bring into Douglas County with the recent loss of some major anchor stores. There's a lot of resources that aren't available to the residents within our county anymore. And I keep hearing more and more, people they're going online to shop. They are going to St. Cloud, traveling to Fargo, going to the cities just to get some of the things that they need, like back to school shopping. I mean, we're down to Walmart and Target for the most part. I mean, there are some other places that you can get things, but I think we need more growth in the infrastructure within the county, be able to keep some of those tax dollars within our system as well, and creating some more jobs and employment opportunities for the people that are living here.
Thank you. Owen?
See, one of the interesting things is we keep talking about communication. And not only when I ran for city council, but also when I had run for the county commissioner spot, there were more phone calls before election than afterwards. Our meetings are open, anyone can attend, and our phone numbers are listed, so the open communication is there. All you have to do is call, and we're willing to listen to what you have to talk about. So that's an important factor. So the communication is available, it just has to be utilized. And so as far as an improvement, I would say, yeah, come to the commissioners meeting, come to the city council meetings, but talk to us.
Thank you. We begin the next question with Tim. Tim, it's kind of a long question. I'll read the whole thing. Our lakes are our most valuable resource, economic, for property tax revenue, and recreation, and spiritual renewal. The county and the city are the primary policy bodies affecting the lakes. What can you do as a county commissioner to rejuvenate damaged lakes and to stop further degradation? Please address regulating development.
That's a long question. I'll try to get it short. Our lakes start with all of us. The quality of our lakes start with everybody who lives around the lake, who puts boats in the lakes, and who swims in the lakes. Most of our lakes now got invasive species in it. We have a sanitary sewer system, which goes around most of the lakes to help with the pollution on the lakes with the sewer system. But everybody who fertilizes their lawns and uses chemicals on their lawns, every time it rains, you have some leaching. Everybody who has a water softener, all that salt from that water softener goes into the sanitary sewer and ends up going through the sewer system and back into the lakes. And you got road salt from the highways that you want to keep clean in the winter from ice and snow. So it's going to take some research on how to improve that. The county now, we've cut back on salt uses. We've tried different methods. We've been using a salt brine to keep the salt costs down and tried treating roads and stuff. But it's going to take a joint effort between everybody in the county to try and protect our resources. And we have to do something, but it all starts with us, with doing our own practices ourselves and improving on them. Thank you.
Charlie?
Yeah, without a doubt, not this board, but the county board 40 years ago made a commitment to the lake area with changing of ag rules and different things, making it more difficult to expand ag in the county, which really helped as far as the quality of the water in the lakes. The invasive species are one of the most difficult things. We get around $298,000 it is every year from the state to help us work on doing that. That's where you see the young people usually out on the accesses helping clean boats and different things, trying to educate people mostly on how it's spread and everything else. We've come up with some rules on the VRBO as to regulate them very similar to what the resorts are. Those rules and that certification and licensing processes help regulate or educate those people that own them on loading homes, septic systems, and so on to help with the water quality issues. Regulating development in the area is one of the most difficult, I think, in any area, because when somebody lives on the water, they like to make the rules on anybody else that wants to live on the water. But the fact is that we do have rules that are pretty good. It's just the idea that they need to be enforced. The enforcement issue is something we need to do probably in the county that we haven't been doing with inspections. Stop, shut up.
Thanks, Charlie. Mike?
So it's a sign to say stop.
Can you copy that?
Yeah, in talking to people about the lakes and I've had this conversation with dozens of people about, you know, we could figure out a way to soften our water without salt. I don't know how to do that, but I'm the first one to tell you that I'm not giving out my water softener. My hair would be red and all my leg clothes would be red. So I don't know how we get that done. It's nice to talk about education and what we as a group of people can do to help prevent the lakes from getting further infested. I'm going to say this, and it's not going to be very popular, but I think we need to take a serious look at our sewer system, and is it time to spend some money on that and expand it for the future? You know, 4 years ago, those folks were thinking way out, and maybe it's time for us to think way out in terms of upgrading that system. We're not getting smaller. We've got development going everywhere. Just take a drive to the freeway and you'll see new roads coming in and new houses coming up. We're developing on that side, and I don't know how you regulate that, but we at least have to take a look at it. Thanks.
Thank you. Heather?
I'm not going to pretend to be an authority on this issue because I'm not. I think this is a perfect example of, though there have been efforts made to try and keep things pristine here, there's so many things coming into it that it's really hard to anticipate just what the gravity of the situation is until after it's already been affected. With that being said, knowing the DNR standards on a lot of these things, and just backing them up, you know, we spend tax dollars within the county here helping to educate people at some of the lake accesses, and continuing with some of those efforts and exploring more and looking into some of the grant options that are available. There's a lot of grants that go untouched every year, and I think that that's a resource that we can tap into to find a way to improve things.
Thank you. Owen?
Thank you. Land and Resources has a substantial amount of material that's available to help with an understanding of the invasive species and some of the other things that are available to work with regarding our lakes. And appreciate the fact that the lake associations invited the commissioners to their meeting about a week ago and had an opportunity to listen to some of their concerns and also to the experts that they brought in to explain what's going on. And I think there's a number of different things that we can talk about the regulations somewhat. We can talk about the $298,000 that comes in that we utilize to try to help keep our lakes clean by having the cleaning stations for the boats that come in and out of our waters, and that's been an improvement. It hasn't solved all of the problems, but on the other hand, it does get back to each and every one, the lakeshore owners, and to take their part in how much fertilizer they put on and how they take care of the lakeshores. Take care of the lakeshore as well.
Thank you. Judy?
Well, I'll go back to the previous question where my response was I think we need to have an overall comprehensive plan. And to do that, we need to bring in experts, a group of 20 to 30 people. And I think we'd all be surprised at some of the individuals in our own community and county that are very knowledgeable about, and we talk about lakes, but water quality is huge. We just can't talk about invasive species. And right now, in my opinion, it feels like we've done a lot of Band-Aids. But there are counties around us that have done comprehensive plans. They've figured it out. And they look at their watersheds, and they look at wetlands and aquifers and maintaining natural areas around our lakes. And putting regulations in place that are enforced, because right now, enforcement is a problem. It feels like some people can do some things and other people can't. But they need to be enforced consistently. And probably the bigger piece is educating everyone. Because right now, people fertilize and they do salt and all those other pieces. If you can educate the masses on the damage that it creates for our natural resources, that helps. I mean, people don't know what they don't know at times. So I'm back to a very comprehensive plan that we're committed to as a county and that we put in place and follow.
Thank you. Charlie, we begin this question with you. And I want to preface this question by saying that we received a number of questions on this topic and we can't cover them all tonight. And these are questions probably that need to be handled internally with the county commissioners. So I am taking the one that was written here as a universal question, and hopefully all of you will have a response to it. And the question reads, how do you propose to repair relations between the county administration and various departments within the county that are currently at odds?
Biggest thing, again, relationships, some that have been born for years. The process on the relationships that have been, I don't know if they've been irrevocably destroyed or not. Some of the stuff that's happened, it's all happened through negotiations with the union and the coordinator's office. There's some huge misunderstandings, and once through the business managers, the business representatives, and the groups and the coordinators, once they have come to an agreement, unfortunately, those agreements have to stand for the period of time they agreed upon. Several of the groups have come to the commissioners and asked if we can change that. We can't change the law, we can't change the rules for that. We just got to do the best we can in getting that communications through. It's been a difficult year, and will be another probably difficult year.
Mike?
Thanks. Tough question. I heard Charlie say, through the negotiation process, you get different contracts and different insurance policies and different understandings of rules and regulations. And my answer to solve that problem is that the county board should direct the coordinator or administrator. I'll be recommending that the county hire an administrator. But either one of those positions, direct them to be consistent across the line on the basic benefit package to all county employees. It should be the same health insurance coverage across all of the departments. No department should be any different than the other department in those basic things. Basic holidays, the sick leave earning policy, all that should be agreed upon by the county board ahead of time, a base rate. The negotiations after that, you negotiate what you negotiate for. But to have departments having different insurance policies, different payment just doesn't seem something, I don't want to say it's not fair, but it adds to the distrust of administration and the county board members. So.
Heather?
To begin with, where there's said that there has been open communication, I know myself and I've talked with many people across the county that genuinely feel that open door policy has not actually been in place. When they have approached the board to try and get communication, it was shut down. And if you're going to put the invitation out there for people to come forward and talk about something, then you need to be willing to listen to at the same time. And if union negotiations are getting in the way of that, find a way to make it happen, find a way to make it work. Because offering one price to union employees for medical insurance and non-union employees get a different rate for medical insurance is not a level playing field, and I can understand why somebody would feel upset, cheated, or disgruntled over something like that. And that's a lot of what we have going on, I think, within the county at this point.
Owen?
I'd like to kind of take you through some of the basics. Number one, the county board indicates to the individual that's going to do our negotiations a package, and it's brought to the union representative. The union representative brings it to the union members. The union members then vote on it, and they either accept it or reject it, or it comes back for further negotiation. But it does work through the two negotiators. It doesn't mean that the county board isn't a part of it. We are. But we work through the negotiators. And if there's a problem, when the union votes on it and 51% of your members vote in favor of it, if you're upset, then you have to be upset with the 51%. If you're upset there, you need to be upset with the negotiator that has been negotiating for you. It's not that we aren't in favor of providing good packages, but you have to be able to work through the system. And now look at what the Supreme Court has just ruled as far as for government employees. Take a look at that in relationship to your union negotiations and so forth. So you understand that that's a process, and we try to meet those demands, but we have to stay within the contract.
Okay. Judy?
Well, the two major issues that I'm hearing about are negotiations, and at the forefront of that is the insurance issue. And then the other piece is the time clock situation. I've negotiated many contracts. I took direction from the board. We made mistakes at times. You will get a whole contract done, and something wasn't really clear. You have three options. You can reopen negotiations. You can do a letter of understanding so that you can make a correction in your contract, or you can do a memo of understanding so that you create clarity in language in a contract. So with everything that's been going on with employees, there are times where you have to say, I had to say it. You know what, guys, I made a mistake. We need to back this train up. I would go back to the board, and we would talk about how are we going to make this better for everyone. Typically, we did it through a letter of understanding or a memo of understanding. And those can be done, and they should be done. In regards to the time clock system, I'm not at all used to salaried people being on time clocks. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the other thing I think that really bothers me is I've been told, and I don't know this for sure, but I've been told that there's no retro pay. Well, you know what admin can do is drag out negotiations to save money. and it's not fair to employees. So I would just back up the train. That's my answer. Apologize and fix it.
Tim?
Okay, I'm an employee. I'm also running for commissioner. If I don't get elected as commissioner, I still am an employee. So I gotta watch what I say. And yes, the biggest problem is the communication, and it starts with the coordinator and the commissioners. Most of the time, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. During our negotiations, then things were changed. When we applied for the health insurance last fall, we all signed the contract. We have to choose between 4 different levels of insurance. This is what we signed up for. First of the year, money starts coming out of our paychecks. What's that for? Nobody told us we were going to be paying for our insurance, and they said, well, it's because your contract isn't settled. Okay, well, that's never happened before. Well, Sheriff's Department took PEEPS, which is a different insurance, so our coordinator based our payments off of PEEPS, is what they're contributed to our Prime West. Or Prime Health, I should say. So, that's what we ended up with. In September 7th Echo, it said, our coordinator said to the Echo that non-union members of this insurer, non-union employees pay more than union employees. That's not right. Public needs to know. I pay on my plan $265 a month more than a non-union employee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We begin with you on the next question. How would you view the county's role in working together jointly with the city of Alexandria?
I was hoping for a yes or no. I think it's vital that the county and the city continue to work together as they have in the past on a number of things, and even go beyond what they are now. I had a lot of thoughts about how we could maybe even share staff, share equipment, share planning processes, even do more coordinating with planning and zoning, eliminate any chance that you need 5 permits to put a board, 1 extra board on your deck because you're in the city limits, or 2 miles within the city limits. Taking a look at that. This area is growing and it's aging all at the same time, and we need to work together. 25 years ago, I remember conversations, well, the city can pay for that, or the county can pay for that, or the township can pay for that, but it's all taxpayers' money, in my mind. And I had a proposal in my head, and I guess I'll throw it out there. Maybe what we need to do is have the school district, the county, and the city, and the township put some money in a pot, like this, and appoint members to figure out how to spend that money for the greater good, and take our hands off this, and let them do what they need to do. Because it's so easy on the board to say, well, if we get the city to pay for it, then we only have a 1% tax increase, and then the city can have a 3%. We got to avoid that.
Thank you. Heather?
I definitely think that there needs to be a fluidity between the cities within Douglas County and the county board as a whole. There is, when you look at things like employee satisfaction for Alexandria city employees, for example, I think that people have, I don't hear a lot of complaining coming out of city employees, but I've heard of the problems within the county and how that structure has worked. Just as one example, I agree with Mike on the stance of, I mean, you gotta work together. I mean, it's one within the other. The cities are within the county, so trying to communicate effectively. Yeah, I don't know. I lost it.
Owen?
Good question, because I chair what's known as the Local Government Coordination Committee. And this is a committee consisting of the city, the school district, and the county. And we have an opportunity to discuss those issues that affect all of our units of government. For example, we've been talking about what's the homeless situation and how do we go about working on some of the problems there. And along with a subcommittee that is continually working on that part of it. But there are a number of discussions, and actually it all started when they needed to change a couple of light bulbs in the RCC. And we figured, why should everyone own a 20-foot extension ladder when maybe we could have one lift owned by the city, the county, or the school district and share that. And so that's how that particular committee got started. And so we do cooperate that way and talk about a number of things that we can try to help solve in the city and the county and the school district.
Thank you. Judy?
It's vital that they work together, and I think we need to be careful that we don't just talk about the city of Alexandria. We have to remember that we have Freda, and we have Nelson, and we have Brandon and Evansville. And if you don't work together, it is duplicated services, and it costs all of us money. Here's an example. The county just went through the process of regulating VRBOs, which I strongly support. The reality is if you have a VRBO in the city limits, in a municipality, those rules don't apply to your VRBO. Or if you have it in the city of Freda, in that area, it doesn't apply. So now what's happening is the city of Alexandria is going through the same work. Freda will probably do the same. To me, that's wasted time. That's where communication has to occur so that we're not duplicating all the time and efforts to cost all of us money to do something that could have been done cooperatively. So I think it's a constant reaching out and talking and communicating about, here's the direction we're going in, can we work together on this, do you want to be involved, what role do you play in this, so that we aren't having each group reinvent a wheel and put in time and money that they just don't have and that we don't want to pay for. So I think it's crucial.
Thank you. Tim?
I believe the same thing. The counties, the cities, and the townships and all that, they have to work together because there's a lot of duplication of services and stuff, and if you could cut down on some of the duplication, you could cut down on some of the costs. As far as counties too, it could be the same way. Counties could share in costs, like, well, we got Horizon Health and that, we're sharing with other counties. County Public Works and stuff could share with other counties. They could buy one piece of equipment between 4 counties that probably gets used 1 month or 2 months out of the year, and each county could trade off, and you could purchase the equipment where all 4 counties now are leasing it. The same goes with the city, the county, and the townships. If somebody's got a piece of equipment that's probably used 5-6 days out of the year, you could buy the equipment together and share it with the townships, the counties, the cities, and all get the same return on it for a lot less investment, a lot less taxpayer money. Thank you.
Charlie?
Yeah, it's a great idea. When Owen was in the city, that's when we started that LGCC, and I've been on that committee too. It's worked pretty well on a few things, and I haven't gotten anywhere with a few things. And part of the problem is we need to be able to communicate together. It's like Judy was talking about. VRBO is a great example because we have them in the city limits, and that jurisdiction is done differently than the county. And get back to land and resource building inspections. Well, they're all using the state building code throughout the state of Minnesota. It's exactly the same on 5th and Hawthorne as it is out in the middle of your township. All right, the same building code, except nobody inspects the building. The county's just worried about the land use in Lake Mary. They're not worried about the buildings. they're all supposed to be built with identical code. So that's what makes it difficult. In those jurisdictions, I represent District 4, 1.5 wards of the city, and LA Township. LA Township has their own inspector. It's neighboring city. That helps, but that's where we need to get to in order, that's gonna be difficult to get them all together in one room, as it has been in the past, because if the laws are there, the rules are the same. I think everybody in this room knows that. I don't think it's all been done that way.
Thank you. Since this point was brought up twice now in this last question, I'm going to ask another question related to vacation rentals. And this is more of a question that any of you can answer, because I think it's more of a factual question than a question of opinion. So whoever would like to answer this, we're just going to throw this out, just to make sure we all are on the same page as far as what's law and what's not. And the question is, on March 6, 2018, the Douglas County Commissioners passed amendments to the zoning ordinance and lodging ordinance, establishing licensing and permitting requirements for private vacation home rentals in Douglas County. The adopted amendments were effective immediately. It is my understanding that less than half of the known private vacation home rental properties in the county have filed for the required licensing. How do you intend to follow through on the vacation home rental property agreements? So the first part of that question is, and perhaps one of the commissioners could answer this, what is the current status of this provision that has been passed?
The current status on how many have signed up, I can't answer that.
Is there a requirement that all the VRBOs sign up by a specific date? How is this going to be implemented?
There was within the guidelines of it, because there were already rental agreements established up through the fall of this year, that the actual implementation of it was going to take place in the fall, after the summer rentals had already been taking place. So we didn't feel that we could turn around and say to someone that has already established an agreement, you have to close on that, cancel that agreement and follow back within the rules here. So we did give them until the fall. Charlie?
That portion was just now, October 1st was the date when it, now it's completely in effect, and it's about load in the house, and because it relates to the septic systems and the garbage portion. The load was rented out. They're online now, you can sign up for next year, all right? There was places, we have a rule where you can get 2 to 3 people in a bedroom, depending how good if you're on the sanitary sewer, you can obviously handle more than if you're on a septic system that's quite old or quite small. That portion of it, just the load thing just came into effect in October, so it'll be in effect. The sanitarium had to inspect all VRBOs, and they all had to have water tested, similar to what a resort has to go through, making sure they got the safety, smoke alarms, extinguishers, and all that equipment. No different than what a resort owner had to go through.
And then the second part of this question, again, just to make sure we're all on the same page. How does the county follow through on this, knowing that those who have these rental properties actually sign up and let you know?
The sanitarium.
Sanitary, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else want to comment on this question?
Well, I just had because that's one of the questions the newspaper asked, and so I went online and read the entire rule, and I'm like, okay, a lawyer, you need a law degree to figure out what it really means.
Unfortunately, on the task force, there was 3 of them.
Yeah. So I still have that same question. Okay, I'm renting off my house, and I have 2 or 3 people there 4 or 5 times a year, and sanitarian, would come around, and I'd say, go away. What is the county going to do? I couldn't find anything in the rules or statutes about the enforcement of that.
Well, you could go get your friend the sheriff to come and see you.
Judy, not a comment?
Yeah, I will comment on that. VRBOs are worldwide, and we have Explore Alexandria that promotes people coming to our community. We have VRBOs. Do I think they're going to go away? I do not. Do I think that neighbors or neighborhoods should be imposed upon because a house is being rented out? Absolutely not. So we need regulations, and the regulations are going in place on October 1st. It's 3 guests per bedroom. Kids under 5 are not included. There are parking regulations. If you're in a septic system, that has to be checked out. There's noise level regulations. Neighbors have to be notified that you're a VRBO, and you have to have a property manager or owner within 30 minutes. So if there are issues, they're called. I agree with Mike. First of all, identifying all the VRBOs is difficult. If people don't self-do that, then I do believe neighbors have the right to say, these people are doing that. We haven't been notified. We don't know. I mean, neighbors have rights as well. And then it's going back to, what if the rules aren't followed? My opinion, shut down the VRBO. You don't want to follow the rules, I don't know what else you do, but they're a good thing. They bring in tourism, but they don't get to impose upon neighbors and other people. So, but I do like the regulations. I think it's a very good start, but I think they need a little bit more.
We'll have to take a couple more comments.
Yeah.
Charlie, you want to?
Yeah, one of the things that we put in there, which Judy alluded to on the manager 30 minutes away. I can tell you, sitting on the task force, we put people that were neighbors of VRBOs, we put VRBO owners on them, we had attorneys, several of them. Sanitarian was on the task force. The task force was almost 25 people along with land and resource. The responsible person within 30 minutes, it's taken so many of the problems we had, and Troy would tell you that, the owner is in Texas. Well, who's managing it? Because we have issues with parking and sanitation. Put 25 people in a 4-bedroom cabin, by Monday morning, the garbage is all over everybody's neighborhood, along with the dogs trailing it everywhere. And who's to call, and then the next group comes in. And the biggest thing is to have that owner available, or that, if it's not the owner, it's the manager, and that's somebody that can come up and remove their problem if they have it.
And they do have to file, and there is a permit process as well, so there are controls that way.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. That was a question by several people that we received via email, so that answers that. Heather, you get the next question. Kind of a long one. How far ahead do you think the county government needs to look when thinking about land use planning? How would you propose the county prioritize need for public parks and preservation of habitat in special or fragile properties?
That's a mouthful. Well, I can't even remember the whole entire question all in one here. I mean, parks are important. Preserving our natural habitat, of course, is important. How far out should we plan? I mean, I think that planning should be done as far as 25 years into the future. I mean, you know, just throwing out a number there, but you definitely have to be able to anticipate that there's going to be growth if it's allowed to happen. I think that that there's been times where growth has been stunted within this area, and it's not allowed, whether it's housing or businesses to come in. There's a wonderful pool industry in this town, but there needs to be other resources available besides that, just of addressing the tourism. There's the residents and the people who are paying the taxes who live here year round, and we need to be looking into the future to, for the growth for the community as a whole.
Thank you, Owen.
Yeah, right now, our park superintendent has presented us with plans, and those are plans for the future as well, and how we develop the Kensington parks, how we develop the Lake Brophy Park, and all of the benefits that it can provide, and so those are in process right now, and that's with the encouragement of the board as to how those plans should be played out in the future. The things that we're looking at, for example, with Brophy Park, some of the trails that are in that area for the mountain bikers, that organization has come in and worked on those trails, developed those trails, and so that they can be used not only by the high school mountain bikers, mountaineers I think they call themselves, but also for tourists to come in and utilize those parks. So yes, there's the Chippewa Park, there's the Runestone Park, there's Lake Brophy Park, and then of course you still have, you know, the state park out here, Carla State Park, and then you also have all the city parks. But no, there are plans and we are developing those. There's a bathhouse that's going to be put together out at Brophy, and there's a brand new facility out at Kensington, which you should take a look at and enjoy. For family reunions or weddings or whatever. So.
Thank you. Judy?
Well, I'd be back to the 10-year plan. The last few strategic planning committees I've been on, they're down to 3 to 5 years. And the reason is the world is changing so quickly. But I would say a 10-year plan that would encompass major components that need to be done. Really looking at parks, land use, and preserving wetlands, natural resource areas. We have to do it now because we are growing so quickly in Alexandria. But when you develop a 10-year plan, you have to review it annually. So you have to report back, what have we gotten done, what do we need to do next? And what's changed in the world that's going to change our plan, because it's going to happen. And we see that right now with just the invasive species that are entering in. So you change as needed and you reevaluate and you continue then to move forward on your big projects, but you make changes as you go based on what you learn and what's changed in the world and what's changed in the environment. So I think it's very important for our area, and that's what we need to encompass when we look at looking ahead and planning and doing preservation. We have to do it now because we're losing land quickly. Thank you.
Tim?
Well, I sort of look at it as a 20-year plan, because right now, as far as the parks in Douglas County, I don't think we need to acquire any more land for parks. We just need to develop the parks that we got. Because Kensington gets used by bikers in the wintertime with the balloon bike. They got trails, they groom and stuff. And you got Carla State Park for cross-country skiing. You got Brophy Park, which is basically being built from the ground up with a bathhouse, an interpretive center and trails, and 2 main hills and stuff. As far as public land, the DNR has a lot of public hunting land and stuff. But the thing I'm mainly concerned about is our wetlands. Wetlands are disappearing, and they shouldn't be. That's our filter for our aquifer, for our fresh water, for our drinking water and everything. And you just take Alexandria, you take where Viking Plaza is built, and all the development out towards the southeast there, there's a lot of wetlands that have been filled in and moved somewhere else. So it doesn't benefit the city of Alexandria or that part of Douglas County, because then wetlands are now in a different part of the county because they've been purchased and exchanged for other wetlands. So I think we need to preserve our wetlands and get a water plan and a park plan in place that's going to serve us the best way we can. Thank you.
Irvin?
Yeah, the park strategic plan, or whatever you want to call it, or how far out, we've made the commitment to do it forever. Some of the things Ken talked about, maybe with I own a couple of wetland credits or this rimland, and that's supposed to stay wetlands forever. That's about the right amount of time, because part of the reason some of us never left here, we sort of live in a park. It's really beautiful around Douglas County, and it's really important for us to keep it that way. Some of the things, K-Town out there by where you work, the new interpretive center, built so the parents can sit inside and watch their kids go up and down the sledding hill. If you haven't been out there, and I can bet there's quite a few people in this room that haven't since we opened that building, you need to go out there. Or wait until this winter when the snow is on the hill. That'd be better yet. But it's a great place to play, and it's a great place for meetings. The one that makes me more excited is the Brophy Park, because I live close to town, in town. It's on the trail, walking distance from everybody within 20,000 people. It's going to be something. I think somebody said we've gone to bids on the bathhouse, that we should have prices and that thing going up yet this fall.
Mike?
Thanks. I was just going to read my answer, but I'll avoid it. I think we really do need to, and I hate to do air quotes, but I'm going to do it. We need a real long-range plan. I worked for the county for 30 years, and we did a lot of long-range plans, and they got in a nice 3-ring binder, and we put them on the shelf, and we never looked at them, and we never used them for the decision-making process. So I'm agreeing with a lot of you that we need to look out to the future, 10, 15, 20 years. We need to be responsive and reactive to what's happening. I'm not a big believer in the county saying, develop over here or develop over there and have guided development, because that just won't work. But we know that they're developing out in the southeast part, right? And that the population is growing hugely out there. What is our county's plan for that area? From roads to watershed issues to public spaces for parks. The Douglas County Park system is great, and it's futuristic. It's been looking out in the future for a long time. We need to continue to do that, but we need to make sure that each one of the new developments has, and I think this is our statute, that has some public use in every private development. You have to have some kind of park space inside each development. And I would oppose of any trading of wetlands. If you trade a wetland from 5 miles away, I'm a little nervous about it. I'm not a wetland expert, but it bugs me that you can sell a wetland credit to someone else who can move the water around.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. We are at our last question. And Owen, this begins with you. And it deals with use of our taxpayer dollars. Why did the county board vote to increase their salary 2 years in a row and increase the per diem for meetings 2 years in a row? Is this a justifiable use of taxpayer dollars? Why or why not?
That's a fair question. Number one, any of the per diems, you receive a per diem for one meeting in a day. You can have 3 different meetings in a day or 4 different meetings in a day. Doesn't make any difference. You receive only 1 per diem. And the salary increase was right along with some of the rest of the increases, not any more than what any of the other employees were receiving. I think you realize that the amount of effort and time that it takes to be a county commissioner is not just the time you're sitting in a meeting, but it's all the time you spend researching and going through the agendas and researching the material and talking to the department heads about that particular issue that they're bringing up. So the time spent is a lot more than maybe what you see us sitting in a meeting or at an event. It's time that we spend. I would guess we look anywhere from 35 to sometimes 40 hours a week as a county commissioner.
Thank you. Judy?
I'll be honest, when I started looking into this and saw what the salary was, I was surprised, and I was surprised at the per diem amount. And, you know, Owen talks a little bit about the number of hours that are put in. I haven't been a county commissioner, so I can't speak to that. I do feel it will be close to a full-time job. If I'd have been on the board at that time, I wouldn't have voted to increase salaries or per diems. I see this more as a service job, and I've served on so many boards. Ask my husband, he about has a fit. I don't know how to use the word no. And I've never been paid. So I guess when I saw the amount, I was surprised. It's a hard thing for me to comment on because I haven't been in that position. But I see this as more of a service and not a make money type of job. I don't know how else to word that, so I'll just leave it at that.
Tim?
I'll let Tim answer.
Well, I've served on Lake Mary Town Board, and our salary, we didn't actually get a salary. We got paid so much an hour and so much a meeting. The meeting was $60 to go to a meeting. And then we got $11 an hour for what we worked besides the meeting. I think it probably shouldn't have been done. It's been the last few years, there's been a raise just about every year. And I would have promoted for a raise. And then you're going to say, well, why are you taking the job? I want to try and change things for the better. I see things happening every day, but taxpayers are getting burdened with more and more taxes. There's things being done that shouldn't be done in the county that could have been done for a lot less money and in a better way. And part of it is with this time system. It's just seems like the board doesn't trust the employees anymore. And that's where everything is going. And trust is a big thing. If you don't have trust, if you can't trust your employees, then there's something wrong. They probably shouldn't be working there, but I'm guessing that most of the people in Douglas County can be trusted and do it on an honor system. But as far as the wages, I would have voted against it. I just kept the same wage for at least a couple more years.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yeah, again, I get to receive that. We took the raises 2 years in a row. That were the first 2 raises that I've gotten in 6 years.
Nothing this year.
Oh, I know, previous to it, but that's the way it was. A lot of time put in, and a lot of time, like I've told a lot of people, the thing that surprised me most about the job is trying to find out everything that we have to do. And I've never read so much in my life. And it's great, but there's so many different things. And, you know, you talk about trust. I'm going to tell you something there. It goes both ways. The board, it doesn't mistrust the employees, at least not this board member or anything. And you got to remember, there's 1,400, not just a couple of unions. So that hasn't got a damn thing to do with the pay. But, I'm only going to listen to so many name callings.
Thank you. Mike?
I get mixed emotions on this. One, we're not a small county, we're a growing county, and part of me think we need to pay the commissioners, have a salary that would attract a larger group of people that would be interested in pursuing this, because I think it is a pretty close to a full-time job. You're not going to be able to have an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday regular job and be a county commissioner. It's just not possible, based on my experience of seeing what commissioners do. They'd be taking time off. You can't do it. Is $29.09 a salary big enough for somebody to say, hey, I want to take 4 years of my life and devote myself to that? I'm not sure. So what do we get? We get old guys retired guys like me that go, $29,900? That's good. So I don't know what the right answer is, but what I will say to you is that if I'm elected, I will take the salary and nothing else. I will not take the dividends, but I will take the salary. But that's for me. I'm in a position where financially I can do that. I just don't know if we have to make it so cheap that only guys like me can run. Then you're going to lose a lot of talent out there. I didn't really answer the question. That's the best I could do.
Heather?
Why did the board choose to do a salary increase and a per diem increase? I'm not on the board yet, so I can't answer that for them, but I understand where they would have done an increase. At the same time, I understand from talking with people as I'm going door to door, I've heard comments like, you see a board member show up at a meeting for 20 minutes and then they leave. Are they getting a per diem for the day for that? I don't know. I think that, where people are looking for some kind of accountability in regards to that, and I think that's probably where that question stems from. How to bring that forward, again, through communication. I don't know if you can, if the board would be interested in putting together at their bi-weekly meetings, a total or something like that of the time that they've spent at the different meetings, or even accountability with the coordinator to show that they've attended certain meetings and how long they've been there. Because if you're going to a board meeting, you should have something to bring back with the commissioners board as well. So I think it's about accountability. I think $100 per day cap is not what people have understood it to be. I think a lot of people have misunderstood that it's $100 per meeting.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
We're going to begin our final statements, and we're going to go now, starting with Owen, coming back this direction. Owen, you have 1 minute to give a closing statement.
Well, thank you, and I've enjoyed working as a commissioner for the last 4 years. It's a tremendous learning experience. There's the opportunity to touch a number of different areas and work with other counties in joint powers boards. And so I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to another 4 years because there are things that we have accomplished this last 4 years. For example, we had an accountant in each one of our departments, and we brought them all together, put them in underneath the auditor treasurer. They have been able to cross-train one another, and that's so that when vacations come along, they're covered, and so that's called efficiency, and we're looking forward to more and more things that we can do that do promote efficiency. So remember to vote for Owen Miller, Douglas County Commissioner. Thank you.
Heather?
I think that Douglas County is looking for a fresh perspective in the commissioner's seat. I'm not going to proclaim to know it all. I'm the youngest person up here that is actually running for a commissioner's seat, and I think I'm probably the youngest one who's been up here actually to try and run for some time. I've heard comments from people regarding it being a good old boys club up here. I don't think that there has to be a woman in the commissioners board. I just think that there needs to be an open mind. There needs to be a new perspective on things and a willingness to work with the taxpayers of Douglas County, and that's the kind of change that I can bring to this position if I'm elected in. Thank you.
Mike?
Thanks. Well, I thank you all for listening to me, listening to us. Some of us are really good speakers. Some of us aren't that good. Some of us think we're funny, but most of you know we're not. I know Charlie really well, and what I'd love to do is pretend like I'm a great politician and just tell Charlie everything he's ever done wrong as a county commissioner. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you is that if I'm elected, I'll give it 100% of my effort. I will acknowledge to everyone that will listen that I don't know everything about everything. I think that's a good point. I'm going to rely on the experts that currently work for Douglas County and utilize them as a resource to help you make decisions. So when you're out and you want to make a decision between two old guys, no offense, Charlie, vote Mike Woods.
Charlie is a much older man than I am, so that's you know, if you're going that way, that's all right. The motivation that made me run in the first place was a lot of it is about bringing things better. I'd hoped maybe to anger the amount of taxes I was paying or trying to find out where they were all going, and I don't know if that would ever end looking at that and trying to bring some fiscal responsibility to the process that seems to be out of control in a lot of areas. And part of the things we've done in the last 6 years, collaborating with other counties, we just bought a company to do our IT, the CPT. It's counties doing technology, and they were doing all of our technical work. Now 24 counties got together and bought that, our IT part, and that just started October 1st. Those are the kinds of things that'll help save money. We'll have a vote for Charlie Meyer because I'm told to stop.
Thank you. Tim?
Well, I thought about running for his position for the last 4 years, and I wanted to get my 20 years in at Public Works before I did. And I like being a township supervisor. I like a challenge. I like somebody to tell me that something can't be done and give me the challenge to do it. And I'll try to do it the best way I can. I like to hear people's opinions on what needs to be done. I'm here to listen. And I'm hoping people would get more involved in what goes on in this county and talk to your commissioners and give them ideas too, because we don't know everything. I'm not saying I know everything in this county. I've had a lot of experience with the jobs I've had, with land and resources, sewer. I've dealt with PUDs, all kinds of stuff in Lake Mary Township. We got Lake Mary Township back and running really good when I was on the board. Me and a couple other guys, we did a bunch of resolutions and stuff, and I'm hoping I can do the same thing for Douglas County and hoping people will get involved. So vote for Tim Kalina, District 2 Commissioner.
Judy?
Well, again, thank you everyone, and I'll start by saying, you know, up here we talk about a lot of the problems, but I think we need to be very proud of our county. We live in a great place. We have a fabulous hospital. We have great employees. I worked with many, many of them when I was in the school district and never had any issues, so I'm proud of our employees. Do I think there are a few things that need to be done? Yeah, I've talked about them tonight. It's taking care of our lakes area, it's watching our tax dollars, and it's taking care of our employees. What I bring to the table is I'm a process person. I'm a problem solver. I like to be organized. I like to get things done, communicate. And the biggest part of communicating is listening. But it's bringing people together. And the other thing I'll say, going through this process, we haven't done dirty politics. Nobody got out yearbooks and looked up. And, you know, for whoever be elected, I wish you well. And Tim, if you're elected, I'm going to be your biggest nightmare because I've learned way too much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me give my thanks as well to, first of all, the City of Alexandria for allowing us to use their space, particularly Sarah Stoddard for helping us out so much with the conduct of these forums. Thank all of you for coming. Thank our candidates for being involved. I want to end with a quote. I'm a student of history. I love reading presidential biographies, and one of my favorites is Teddy Roosevelt. Today, as we all know, if you pick up a newspaper or watch the news on TV, there's a lot of dissension and chaos and a lot of critics. Well, Teddy Roosevelt said something about those who are willing to take on the mantle of leadership and the critics, and I'm going to read what he said. He said, "It is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by the dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory or defeat." So I certainly appreciate all of your willingness to get in the arena and to get dirty and bloody and sweaty, take on the critics. So thank all of you for your time.